wait is over. It's time for Gutbuster Radio. The Legend T James Logan talks with independent pro wrestling stars from around the world.
Gutbuster Radio.
Hey out there, this is Mr. Athletic Jeff Cobb, and you are listening to Gutbuster Radio.
Gutbuster Radio.
Our second guest today, many of you wrestling fans from old will remember the show Glow, the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. Glow is one of those really interesting entities which really helped, I really think, pave the way for the divas of today. They helped that transition to glamorize and to bring forth what women's wrestling could be, instead of, you know, I'm not putting down old women wrestlers of the past, but in the past, women's wrestling did not get a fair shake. And you know, a lot of people will say that's still true today, but it was even worse back then. When Glow came along, Glow actually brought women to the total forefront of its show. It was all about women wrestlers. And I really think it brought forth what women wrestling could look like. You know, the whole diva aspect, the whole stories and glamour. And it really helped bridge the wrestlers of yesterday to some of the hard-working, tremendous women wrestlers of today. We got a chance to talk to Patricia Sunny, who many of you remember as Sunny the California Girl. And I got to tell you, this was a fun interview, folks. So let's sit back and we'll talk with Sunny.
Hi, wrestling fans. My name is Dan Crawford, and you're listening to Gutbuster Radio.
Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of Gutbuster Radio. I'm your host, the Legend T James Logan. Today we have a very interesting lady, a lady that I'm glad to get a chance to talk to, a lady who was involved in, I'm going to call it a phenomenon in wrestling, because it was something that started and it never truly ended in the minds of a lot of fans. I'm talking about Glow Wrestling, and I have a chance to talk to a girl that you knew as Sunny the California Girl. I've got a chance to talk to Patricia Sunny. Patricia, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great, but just like your namesake, you are in fact living the great life in California, are you not?
I sure am. I am a true, by my character, if you will, just like good old Terry, Hulk Hogan. I guess we live and die by the sun, and that's how I got Sunny the California Girl, because I showed up at, I guess you would say, the interviews for Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling, Glow. As sun, fun, and blonde and tan. That was me in every bit of the way. So I didn't have to change much for me. But I'm a native of sunny California.
Now, did you have a lot of sporting background or even a wrestling background before going in?
Actually, I was an athlete. I had always trained. I was a tomboy, hung with the boys, skateboarding, basketball. But my main thing was track. I outdid the girls and went with the boys and ran and succeeded in track as #1 in track and field. So you might say I was a pro already, but as far as wrestling, no. How I got involved with wrestling is quite interesting. My father was a big wrestling fan and happened to know a lot of the old-time wrestlers, Freddie Blassie, the Destroyer. So you might say I was raised with these guys at the Olympic Auditorium as a child. When I was 5 years old, I sat with my family at ringside watching these guys come out and wrestle. And, boy, some of that was real blood. You know, the old school wrestling was really something. And that was the beginning of my father, who would watch it on television when we could make it to the ring. And there was Glow one day on the weekend, the women's wrestling. My father had it on, believe it or not. He called me out of my bedroom. At this time, when he was watching Glow on television, I was a model. I was a waif, you know. I was so bone thin, and I was a swimwear model. He calls me out, and he's like, check this out. Look at these. These are women. They're wrestling. You could do this, honey. And I'm like, yeah, okay, Dad. Are you kidding me? I was watching them. But I was noticing that these women were all different shapes and sizes and ethnicities, if you will, and incredible different characters. And they were, you know, wrestling. I'm like, oh, wow, this is sort of cool. And they're on TV. Well, maybe I can, you know, because I was just getting my my feet wet in other avenues of TV and movies. I had, probably been in a few movies before this. And I said, sure, I'll send in my headshot. And that was the whole spin of it.
Wow.
I guess it was my dad's love, and unfortunately he never got to see me live. He passed away while I was in the ring up in Las Vegas. He became very ill, and however, he, knew that I made it in Glow and that I was wrestling. So that was a very heartfelt thing, if you will, and I succeeded.
That's amazing. Now, going into Glow, when you finally, you sent in your headshot and you got your interview, and what was it like to start training? Did you find it did you expect it? Was it
Oh my God. Yeah, you mentioned the training.
Yes.
Well, the interview, first of all, was here in North Hollywood. And there was probably, at that day, 360 women from all over the world was there for the tryouts, for the audition, that is, not tryouts. The audition was very grueling, and they take one look at you. If they have a need for you as a character-wise to mold you, whatever they saw, there was like 3 or 4 people in the casting, and the director of Glow was there. And from that point on, if you got accepted, out of 360 women, we went to Vegas. Now, you still weren't in. As you were talking about training, that's when that begins. They put you through a 6-week type of military combat training.
Yikes.
And also acrobatics. So as a child, you're reliving your acrobatics. You're doing your flips and, and all that type of stuff. But you're learning military. We're talking men's push-ups, not the sissy push-ups. And your arms up, holding up with your ears, the tire tubes, everything. It was grueling for 6 weeks.
Wow.
And if you surpass that, then, hey, you've got to shoe in. But not yet. Because out of, let's say, I think it was 36 of us, they have to give you a character. They look at you, and if they can't figure out a character, gosh, you can't make it. So some of these girls went through big transformations, like Beastie, for instance, the Road Warrior. She had a mohawk. She had beautiful, long, gorgeous hair. They shaved it. She had to put on an additional 20 pounds. I was blessed because, like I said, I really didn't have to do a darn thing. They said, you're Sunny. I'm like, okay, we like your smile, your tan, your bouncy, trousy. You fit this character perfect. And I'm like, oh, gosh, okay. And the rest was, again, training on trampolines, learning the maneuvers, monkey tosses. Of course, all the other, back in those days are different terms, as they call them now in the wrestling moves. Double arm drag. Takeovers, body splash, drop kicks, fireman's carry, the body slams, and I got it all, because I was a good girl. And as we call good and bad, there's heel and baby face, but Glow was good and bad. So I was a good girl, and I primarily lost all the time. I took a lot of bumps, a lot, and on tour, they thought I had broke my neck because I was in a pile driver with Beastie, and it's all about timing. If you know wrestling, you get the maneuver. It's all about timing with you and your partner in that ring. Whoever you're wrestling, that's one slip, you can be gone. You're a goner. Or you get seriously injured. As you know, in Glow, if you remember out there, and all you fans, Susie Spirit had an elbow bone. Her bone popped out right there on live TV. My tag team, Queenie, and I don't know if you remember Queenie, she was only in probably 2 matches. I actually did have a tag team, but before I was solo. And what happened was she froze up in a monkey toss in the match, and her collarbone popped right out.
Wow.
And that was it for her. sad, because I loved her to death. She had to go back to Tennessee. So
wow. So
that was it. There was no mercy. It's like, sorry, injury, done. You're gone. We had great trainers. Nanuchka was one of our trainers. Debbie Debutante was another in gymnastics for us. Great girl. Love him to death.
Well, now, a lot of these ladies that applied for these roles and stuff, a lot of them were they all athletes? I mean, were some of them just actresses, too, that didn't quite expect this level of physicality?
Exactly. A lot of them were just actresses. Some of them were just housewives, or young housewives, if you will, because some were 20. I think the oldest was Zelda. She is now, Zelda's what, 60?
Mm-hmm.
I think she's about 62 now. Zelda the Brain, or Zelda the Nerd. we changed it a few times there, but I love her. She was great. But she was a housewife. Some of these women were just housewives.
Well,
An expectation of them wanting to get into something as they were watching go on TV was incredible. They're like, wow, it's all girls. Maybe I can do this.
No.
It was a challenge. It's just like the Biggest Loser show. You know how women and men want to get on there to lose
Right.
weight and be fit. Well, a lot of these women were probably expecting that, and they got a heck of a lot more. Because you do get the acting, and you do. It's a triple threat on that show. We had live tapings, and then we toured the world. We became huge, and to this day, we still are. Our fans are following us. Some, that aren't even or weren't even born, I should say, back then.
Yeah,
And they follow us just because we're on YouTube and we're out there.
Mm-hmm. So now,
Our documentary. Don't forget.
Yes.
We have, a documentary that hit the movie theaters that went out a couple years back, and it's still out there. And, you can find the documentary on the Glow site, I believe.
what was it called? It was just the Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling documentary, the life story. And there's going to be a couple more, I'm sure. We're going to have many more reunions coming up, and other, gatherings. You never know what's in store. Some of us are still in the business, and some of us aren't. A lot of the girls are just in hiding, if you will, from that heyday. They went on, they've settled down, and they're not there anymore. And everyone's like, well, what happened to this one? What happened to They just don't want to be found anymore. The hype is too much for them.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been in showbiz, so it doesn't bother me, and I've went on to grander things, and, I posed in Playboy, which was a big hit, and had nothing to do with Glow, and this was after Glow, and then start on the Strip with my own wrestling show called Battling Beauties, which was on the Strip, and I headlined as Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
And that was truly amazing. I trained those girls and brought them out, and it was pro wrestling in oil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which was rather difficult.
I would think so. Now, one thing that I find rather interesting about Glow is, in some ways, it was sort of a kind of like, a review show, lots of acting, lots of wrestling, yet many wrestling fans kind of accept it deeply and are not, it would be so easy for people to dismiss it as just sort of a show, yet a lot of wrestling fans over the years have kind of accepted it as part of the wrestling history. Why do you suppose that is?
Because we actually were, I would say, us Glow Girls paved the way before it was Mae Young, as you know, who's the original, and we love her, and many others before us in the old school wrestling, but we are the era of the 80s, of the entertainment, as what you guys see now in WWE. We paved the way for them, for every female athlete up until now, is what I consider. And that's why I think we're blessed to have been in that era of the 80s, even into the early 90s. We were on pay-per-view and whatnot. But we left, I want to say, a comedic type show to a world of wrestling, of hardcore wrestling in the ring, which is what we performed. But yeah, we made it lighthearted to where the audience of all ages can watch and be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in full character. Always an interesting character for the kids to latch on and say and identify with.
Mm-hmm. Now, okay, well, how long exactly were you involved yourself personally in Glow?
I was there for 2 years. I was the third and fourth season.
Okay.
It was from first, second, third, and fourth season. And when my father took ill, I actually had to be asked to step out of the ring because my head wasn't there. And one thing's for sure, you have to be 110% focused.
Right, are you going to pop an elbow?
Yeah. They say wrestling's fake, but let me tell you, it's not. We always say the people are, not the wrestling. So you've got to be, you really have to be focused. And I wasn't. I was worried about my father, and sure enough, I get a call by my mother and said, you've got to come down. It was in Long Beach, and I was by his bedside for 5 days, and I returned to Glow, but I couldn't do it anymore. I returned, and I ended up going into another NFL poster girl type stuff from that point on, where I was still identified as Sunny, but I took that and ran with that and became a sex symbol from that point on. So, and then I did Battling Beauties after that as well.
Mm-hmm. So it's kind of unique that even though you weren't, per se a wrestler to start, you got to live that kind of passion, because you did have quite a love from when you were young for wrestling. I just find that kind of a unique story to be able to fall into that opportunity.
Oh, yes. And you know what was amazing is at the CACs a couple of years back in 2012, I wore the Destroyer's mask when I was 3 months old. It's actually on my Facebook.
Oh, wow.
I was in diapers. Okay, and I had no clue. I'm like, what in the heck? I have pictures, my black and white little Polaroid, and here I am in diapers and the Destroyer mask. I was blessed to meet him, and he autographed that same picture. Now, how many in the world today does that happen? I mean,
that's
full
incredible.
Circle.
Yeah.
You know, it's incredible. And I used to sit there as a little girl and watch him in the ring. And Freddie Blassie and Andre the Giant, I was blessed to meet, by the way, before he passed. It was incredible up in Las Vegas when they were wrestling up there at UNLV. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, what an incredible, gentle giant, you know. And I met many greats, and I'm blessed to have been part of that and in that business, and very thankful to my father who loved the wrestling field and also had them as wonderful friends. Of course, I was a little girl, so my memory of that, you know, I appreciate it now, but back then I had no clue. Mm-hmm. You know, I was just there. I'm like, oh, Daddy, yeah, this is cool. And all I remember is Freddie Blassie coming out in a cage. He was in this cage and pop out with his cane. Yeah. And I thought he was the meanest person that ever lived. I was frightened. I was so frightened because it looked so real. And here I am. You know, able to do that in my lifetime, you know, and to give, to open up doors for women in that business is incredible. To know that I helped many other little girls out there fulfill their dream, and still do. I still, you know, recommend if women want to get in any type of field, in any athleticism, absolutely. You know, never give up your dream, whatever that passion is. Never say you can't do it, because you can.
Wow. You know, I got to ask now, you mentioned something about reunions, Glow reunions. Is that something that's been going on for a little while? Is there some kind of...
Yes, there was one reunion, which is the spin of the documentary as was out there. I myself am not in that because my daughter had a fatal near-death accident on that same day. I was ready to walk out the door with my surfboard to go down and see the girls after at that time, let's see, this was in 2010, so, you know, 20-some years. I was so excited. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And then I get a call from Cedars-Sinai Hospital. My daughter was in a horrific car accident. Oh. So I was not able to be in the documentary, and I missed that reunion. Fortunately, I met a few of the Glow girls again at the CACs, the California Alley Convention, which is for all the pro wrestlers around the world, you know, get together, and it's been happening every year in Las Vegas. So some of the girls were up there, and I was able to reunite with them, and it's been a joy ever since. But there will be a reunion again when we all get inducted into the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Wow.
Which is happening soon. I can't tell you when. It was supposed to be this year for us, but it's been put back until next year. So I would imagine, I want to say, New York, here we come. So,
excellent.
All of us Glow girls, yes.
Now, would you have ever thought that when you first started Glow that it would be such a phenomenon as it turned out to be? Or did you think maybe it was just going to be a little regional
You know
thing?
what? I think to this day, no. I think we're shocked that we still have such a fan base. I know I am. Mm-hmm. I have such dedicated fans, and I'm so thankful and blessed that I have them, and I appreciate each and every one of them. They're wonderful. And just, I have one, Sensei Petey. He's on every Glow, I guess, well, he's probably about 10 or 12 Glow girls he's on there, and he is just incredible. I think he's only 20 years old, so naturally he wasn't around when Glow was on. But that boy knows everything there is about Glow, and he follows us and he watches us, and what a good kid. Smart, wonderful, and I think he's somewhere in New York, and we're so thankful, all of us, to have him follow us like that, and many others that do, that weren't around when Glow was on.
Wow. That is, you know, it is so funny because the more I looked into Glow, and I remember Glow when I was younger, and I remember it being very interesting. I never got to see a lot of it because just being up in Canada, access to the show was pretty tough. But with YouTube right now, I mean, it's so easy to look up so many of the matches and so much of the show and to kind of relive a bit of that. And I find it so refreshing and entertaining that there is the skits and the acting and the funny parts, but then the wrestling is actually really good. It holds up so well. And I think for me, that's my understanding of of the appeal of why it's lasted so long. I think if it went just too much one way, it would have just been written off as like most things are. So
I would say, Thomas, if it wasn't for our writers, we had one amazing writer, and he did the slapstick perfectly, up from my knock-knock jokes to, if you remember the character's chainsaw and Spike, I mean, you know, how crazy is that? You don't see that now in WWE. You just have the divas, and yes, they have some outrageous outfits, some sexy ones, but, you know, the identity for these kids, I think they latch onto the male wrestling, John Cena's and The Rock, and those guys more, because the women aren't in this outrageous character. They don't come out like the superhero, like we were. And I want to say, yes, we were blessed to have great characters where everyone can identify with, from men, women, and children. Because we had a big crowd of women. They didn't hate us. They didn't call us, oh, yeah, look at that TNA. We never got that. You know, yeah, there were some slip-ups in our costumes, you know, at times because of the maneuvers. But, hey, you know, for the most part, everything's covered.
Yeah.
And, you know, for that era. And it was like hee-haw meets, you know, wrestling. That was us, a little slapstick. And, yeah, it was good. And we had our little skits in between.
Now, do you follow any of the current wrestling at all? Do you watch any of the WWE or any of maybe the women's indie wrestling at all?
Yes, I actually had to. I would say Smackdown, because I used to have a show with Rick Drayson, who used to be the Equalizer back in the day. We had AfterBuzz TV, and it's still on, and we had to critique Smackdown. So we had to watch Smackdown, you know, every Friday. And we would go on and talk about it and discuss it. Yeah, and MC that for AfterBuzz, which Maria Menounos owns AfterBuzz TV. So I was doing that for about a year and a half. Right now, I know all the wrestlers, but I'm in that, if you will, I don't watch it now, only because I had to watch it every Friday. I appreciate them. I know all of them. I love the divas. I love the twins, the Bella twins.
The Bella twins, yes.
Great.
You know...
So, you know, I do have appreciation for what they do. I think some of them shouldn't be in the ring, but I would say 80%, yeah, definitely deserve to be in the ring. They're great athletes, all of them.
Now, this next question I'm going to ask, if it's a question you're uncomfortable with and don't want to answer, we'll snip it right out. But just my observation of women's wrestling in the WWE lately is I see it as like... they really shortchange the women quite a bit. It seems like either they treat it like as it means absolutely nothing, or if they do use it, it's overly sexualized. Did you ever get that feeling that they're kind of in some ways misrepresenting what women's wrestling should be or could be?
Yeah, I think they do. They make the girls there's too much sex involved. There's too much of the dancing, too much of the TNA when these girls should be wrestling.
Yeah.
For instance, AJ, great. AJ, that little girl can wrestle and act. Okay, they say she's a little crazy for real, but you know what? You never know because she acts so well.
Right.
But But a couple of the girls, I think, over the top, and it's sad.
Yes.
Those girls deserve their time in the ring. Yeah, the men, I think WWE is pro of the men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I will say that. We didn't have to worry about that. I mean, you know.
You had your own show.
We had our security, we had our ref, we had our MC that we used to beat up on, and a few of the audience members and whatnot. But, you know, now with the competition between the male and female, I think the female deserves more time.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You know.
Now, do you...
Natalia. Natalia. Her, I mean, she comes from a great family. The Hart family.
Yep.
That girl, she is awesome. You know, and there's many more that come from a great wrestling family that deserve their time in that ring more. But do they get it? No.
No. They're always the first ones to get bumped off the pay-per-views if they need more time for the other stuff.
Yeah.
Now, do you suppose in today's world, in today's society at this time, that somebody could do Glow Wrestling again or that type of show? Do you think it would be possible to do something like that, or was that an 80s start?
You know, I think it's been tried and true by a few people. There's been Wrestlelicious out there, but Johnny C., our own referee, was with Wrestlelicious, and that was somewhat successful. And, you know, there's a few others that I think currently are probably similar to Glow, but I don't think there'll ever be a Glow again. There will never be. That was in that time piece. Now, if there is something similar that comes to that, and again, it's not going to be as big as it was in the 80s and 90s, and out of Las Vegas, it's just not happening because it has been, people have tried, and I'm not mentioning who or what, you know, it's just not. Do you see it out there? Do you see it on television twice a day like we were?
No.
It's not going to happen. No.
So I guess I got to ask now is what is your current life like now? What have you been doing now that you know the Glow? Yeah, I know you do some of these reunions, but what is your regular life like now?
My regular life still very much consists of Sunny. I've been sought after to do many things. Again, I'm fortunate through the social media. I actually do a radio show every Sunday myself. I handle all of California. And it's called American Adversaries, and I go on as Sunny the California Girl, Patricia Sunnyland, and I'm on a half hour, like I am with you, and I cover all the news and trending politics meets wrestling.
Oh,
it's
wow.
wonderful. Oh, yeah, I love it. I love it. So I do that every Sunday. I train in wrestling. I've been asked to manage. I can still wrestle, but I refuse to do some of the high-flying maneuvers. Can't do that now. Don't want to. I like my back. I don't want to be 20 years down the line crippled or worse.
Right.
You know, I've got injuries that stay with me now. I just fake it till I make it, you know, go through it because it's painful. I mean, it stays with you. But I will always have that part of my life that I'm very thankful for. But my real life, I'm a mother. I'm a grandmother. I have 2 beautiful daughters. One's married, one's not. You know, the normal life that I live in downtown Los Angeles, beautiful downtown, right next to the Staples Center. What else? I'm in entertainment. Like I told you, I pose in Playboy. I still model here and there at my age. I'm still blessed to ask to do that. Wrestling, like I said. But for the most part, you know, I try to just lead a normal life, like construction. I oversee supervision. Well, supervision, I would say, in the aspect of building houses. I'll just say that. That's part of my love, managing properties. So that's the norm part of my life.
Wow. You know, it sounds like Glow was a very good thing for you, and it sounds like you've been doing really well since you finished, too.
Yes, it's been up and down. I mean, I've had an interesting life. I lost my ex-husband 2 years ago. He passed away unexpectedly, and so it's been a bumpy ride from that point on. Me and my daughter joined together. She lives with me. She's a beautiful girl, and I try to get her into wrestling. And she, you know, I guess because both my daughters grew up with me in the entertainment industry, they're both, Mom, we passed. The other one's successful. She deals with cars, Bentleys and Rolls. They have a business called Classic Motors. My other daughter wants to be a nurse. So, yeah, their love, as far as the athletic side, not so much.
Wow. Well, you know what? It sounds like, you know...
It's okay with me.
Well, you know, Glow was a really fun time. It really highlighted women's wrestling. And I'm going to very much agree with you, the fact that I think it really did pave the way for a lot of the concept of what divas have become. And a lot of people, a lot of women's wrestling, you know, it was a good transition from the old days of middle-aged women in bathing suits to athletic women wrestling. And
yes.
I just want to say thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, as a fan of women's wrestling, I find that as part of the transition of what I really do enjoy about actual women's wrestling these days. And I think that Glow played a pretty key role in that. And I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking a bit about it and getting to hear. I know there's a lot of fans who probably want to hear what Sunny's been up to these days. And I just want to say, you know what, down the road, love to have you on again, and maybe we can get a little more stories in about some of the crazy adventures you had within Glow Wrestling. But
absolutely. Boy, we've got stories to tell, especially on the road with 36 girls on a bus. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
There's a lot of details there.
Patricia, it has been a pleasure talking to you today. And on behalf of everyone here at Gutbuster Radio, we had a great time, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. My pleasure, Thomas.
Well, fans, that's been another edition of Gutbuster Radio. Tune in next week where we'll have some more interesting guests, and we'll see you at the wrestling matches.
You're listening to Gutbuster Radio with the legend T James Logan.
Gutbuster Radio.
Hey, everybody, this is Casey Carlisle, and you're listening to Gutbuster Radio.
Gutbuster Radio is produced by From the Second Row Productions. For show notes, links, and other great independent pro wrestling radio shows, visit our website at www.secondrow.ca. Executive producer for Gutbuster Radio is Thomas Little. Gutbuster Radio is hosted by the legend T. James Logan. Gutbuster Radio is copyrighted and cannot be used in whole or in part without express permission from the Second Row Productions. Sharing is okay via our website or through our Facebook page. Don't forget to like our Facebook page at From the Second Row. Post-production services are provided by Brass Media Canada, who specialize in web content creation. Let Brass Media Canada put you and your customers into conversation mode. Find out more at www.brassmedia.ca. From the Second Row Productions and Gutbuster Radio would like to thank the independent pro wrestling stars who take time to talk to us. Show your support for independent pro wrestling by attending live shows wherever you are. Always remember, you can play football, soccer, hockey, and rugby, but you can't play wrestling.
Hey fans, don't forget to check out our website at gutbustertv.com. We're also available on Twitter, Instagram, and yes, Facebook. So take the time to send us a message, look things up, or just get a hold of us. We're lonely. This is Gutbuster TV. Come on, man.